Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast, the show that provides a platform for self-made entrepreneurs to share their stories on how they got where they are today. If you're a budding entrepreneur or a business owner looking for further inspiration, education, or motivation, then look no further. This is the show for you. And now, let's get started with your host, Zach Duggar.
Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Duggar. Now, today with me, I have Shea. And Shea, I always do this. I always forget to ask how to pronounce the last name when I know I'm going to get it wrong. So if you could please let me know and let our audience know how to pronounce your last name accurately.
Petaja. You're not alone.
Petaja.
Shea Petaja. Yes.
Okay. Shea Petaja, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me today. I'm excited to hear more of your story and what you're doing today as we talk about the entrepreneurial journey and how you're helping other people in their journeys as well.
Yeah.
So what I love to get started with is just how you got into the entrepreneurial space. If you give us a little background on kind of what types of work you were doing prior to what you're doing today.
Okay, so it's a funny story because it's not entirely by accident, but it is. I'm surrounded by entrepreneurs in my world. My grandfather worked for the Man down in Detroit and moved up to Traverse City to be self-employed. A lot of people on both sides of the family are self-employed, and I just thought it wasn't for me. I worked really hard to be the best employee I could be. Entrepreneurs inspired me, but I never thought that I was one. And I also thought that if you were an entrepreneur, it meant that you loved money, that money was the thing that you loved more than anything else. And that was my pretty much, I thought, if I'm not Tony Robbins, then why would I do this? And by the way, I got to meet Tony Robbins, which is cool. And the other weird part of this whole story is that I was at a networking group at Commonplace. It's a co-working space. Like, I think it was 6 years ago. And I met a coach. And he said, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" I said, "Oh, I'm a CXO at a financial firm. I do all these things." And he says, "I'm trying to take what I do for businesses and pare it down to individuals. Will you be my test run on this to see if it works? If I can take this EOS platform, Entrepreneurs Operating System, and help entrepreneurs and individuals." And I said, I'm not an entrepreneur, but I hired a coach over 10 years ago. I love coaching. I'm a life coach. If you think you can help me, I'll do it. And so he jumped right in with me, and I sat and told him how I worked really hard to be a good employee. And he said, "Shea, you're an entrepreneur." And I said, "That's such a huge compliment, but I'm not. And thank you." And he that idea. And over the years, I think what made me such a great employee is that I worked really hard to create my own position within the company that right-sized me and that fit me and my talents and my gifts. And there just came a point where I needed to be on my own, right? Like, you cannot have two leaders sitting in the same seat. It gets uncomfortable. So it made me a great employee. And I just took everything that I learned from driving my own ship every day within a company and then applied it to my life as a coach. So simultaneously, while I worked for someone, I had a private practice as a life coach. And when I went from being an employee to not being an employee, I thought, I'm going to go all in with this coaching thing. If it worked as a side hustle, imagine what it could be if it was full time. And so I hired my own coach, a business coach who helps coaches build their practice. And that's how that all got started. And it happened very, very quickly. And it was exciting. So it was accidental, but not entirely. When I look back, I'm like, a lot of people in my world work for themselves. Not only that, I had created an event with a friend that was for entrepreneurs to tell their story. And that event ran for 7 years. And we did 3 of those shows a year. And I had coached over 100 entrepreneurs on how to tell their story. So this whole time I was not jumping in the pool, but definitely dipping my toes in the water and thinking it's for everyone else, but not me. There's no way I could make that work.
Yeah.
But there
Yeah.
comes
Tell
a point
me.
where you got to bet on yourself, as my friend Angie says. You got to bet on yourself. And
Yep.
she encouraged me to take the leap. She's like, you've done it. You've done it for everybody else. What if you tried it for you? What if you took
Right.
everything that you've done to make other people successful and tried it for you? So I
Yeah.
needed that. I needed that push. And
Yeah.
I like how your podcast says self-made. I am definitely not self-made. It's just, I have so many people around me. I have such a great support system. So, and
Yeah.
it took me a long time. I'm not a big risk taker. My brother's been an entrepreneur since his early 20s, and I just thought that's for him. I'm not like
Mhm.
that.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, sometimes I wonder what that definition of self-made is for different people because it's not always the same. And really, realistically, the majority of individuals I've spoken with would have to say the same, that it wasn't by themselves. It was with the support of others around them, with the encouragement of other people, with some words of wisdom, coaches, and sometimes just that little kick in the pants that got you over that edge to get to be able to say, okay, I'm going to take this leap. I've got people, got my back.
yeah.
Get this going.
Yeah, and you have to, I mean, as far as self-made, you got to get up every morning and be motivated enough to believe that this can work and
Hmm.
believe that you can make it work. And for me, I mean, I remember in 2008, I had a boss I was working for, and he said, Petaja, you're not going to be happy till you own and run your own thing. And I said, that's not true. I'm a really good employee. But all the things that made me a terrible employee, as far as being very opinionated, wanting to run my own schedule, working outside of work hours, you know, those types of things also
Yep.
pointed to me being a very good entrepreneur, because the joke was Shea works and then she works after work on something else.
Yeah.
Um, and the shift for me, was when my personal life fell apart a year ago. It was kind of like the universe saying, oh, you call yourself a transition coach. That's what you call yourself. Let me prove it,
Mhm.
and prove that you want this. And so, I was like, definitely, wow, it's bright. I was definitely thrust into that quickly.
Yeah.
I think had to figure it out. And the sink or swim is also just, I think everyone gets to that point, whether you're employed or self-employed or it's your personal life. Do you really want it? And how bad do you want it? And then you have to prove that.
Yeah.
So that's what my coaching now, I call it the holy shift. Take
Right.
take the oh shit and turn it into the holy shift. What happened to you can happen for you, but you do not have to do it alone. You do not have to be self-made. You can ask for
Yeah.
help. And I've had my own coaches and my own support team, and that's what I've been doing and love doing since, I don't know, I was young.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you've had people planting seeds along the way and encouraging you along the way. Boss who's told you you're going to be happy when you're doing your own thing. At the same
Like, you're
time, you're
one of
doing
us.
your own
You're one
thing.
of our, yeah, you're one of us. Wait, no, I'm not.
Yeah, right, right. I'm
Mhm.
interested to hear a little more about what you had done with a friend. You said you had been doing some event that occurred a few times through the year, and 7 years. And be interested to hear a little bit more about that. As you know, and those that need to know more, they need to go to your website and get your street cred because you got a whole list of different experiences that
Yeah.
you've had, including this one. So talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah, so the event was called Fulfillment, and we took this idea from TEDx. So
Uh,
TEDx is about ideas, but what if we had people not talk about their ideas, what if we had people talk about themselves and how did you become an entrepreneur and what inspired you and why did you do it and what were the trials and the successes? And so we gave each person 15 minutes to share their story, and then one person was always a musician, so there was always music. And then one of I'm a theater communications background writer, so I really enjoyed the craft of helping these entrepreneurs tell their story and making it very clear within 15 minutes, which is really hard. That's actually not easy. There's a reason people pay marketing companies and branding companies the big bucks to come up with one tagline, like just do it, right?
Yep.
So it was kind of that version of telling your story. How quickly can you tell it? And listening to those stories over and over and over again and hearing their stories, like I thought, oh my gosh, it's possible that I am one of them.
Right.
So, and my business partner at the time, she would always say, you can do it. You can do it. She'd always been an entrepreneur too. And so just the encouragement from people. But I might be a different coach in that I'm a little risk averse, and I don't always think it's wise that people jump right away blindly into something. I mean, I practiced this for 8 years being a coach until I did it full time on the 9th year. So, you can test things and test your programs, test your product, while you have a job, while you're providing for yourself and you have health insurance and you're taking care of business, there. For me, another thing I did during that time is I negotiated a 4-day work week many years ago so that I had that extra day and to just do the creative things that made me happy and made me feel alive and connected to my community. So, yeah, I mean, all of it just kind of set me up for success, but it was a very slow building, long process. And I think when people look at entrepreneurs, they think, oh my gosh, it's so sexy and fast and exciting. And I mean, yes and no. A lot of it was just a very slow, long lead up to what eventually happened. And then how it happened for me in my personal life was, it was very hard. So that's okay. And I think you have to incorporate who you are in suffering and success. One thing that one of my coaches always says is I don't trust people who don't suffer. And so I like people to bring the pain into the coaching process because I'm coaching a whole person. I'm not coaching just their business or just their health or just their relationships. Life coaching literally means all of it. It's the whole person. So,
how did challenging experiences in your own life help frame the work that you're doing today, or help shape the work that you're doing with others?
yeah, there's been many major shifts in my life. I initially felt called into the ministry and went to school to be a pastor. When I was in Bible school, I had a dark night of the soul and a crisis situation where I really struggled with my faith, and that crisis lasted a while. I would say I don't know, I'm using flowers to block the sun now. This is how entrepreneurship is. It's crazy. It's unpredictable. No.
Yes. And for those that are listening to this, Shea is actually sitting outside. So if you need to adjust your angle, feel free. It's not a problem.
Yeah. Someone got me flowers for my 1-year anniversary in business.
I love that.
My friend Courtney.
Oh, beautiful.
So, isn't that beautiful?
Absolutely.
So yeah, there was that shift in my spirituality. Then I didn't know what I want to do for a living. So I hired a coach and worked with him. That was when I was 27, 28. In that session, I said to him, I want to be a coach. I want to do what you do. And he goes, okay. The problem was I hadn't paid my dues. I didn't have the chops yet. I didn't have the experience. And then I was invited to go work for a financial advisor. I was in the realm of financial advising and retirement planning for 15 years, doing business development, marketing, and all the client experience. That was really good. I learned a lot about how money works and businesses work and how people work. And then there was a shift in my personal life where unexpectedly my partner, on the eve of this transition into full-time employment, he left. He got an apartment. I didn't know about it. He hadn't been faithful. I didn't know about it. I was thrust into a personal crisis. And it was absolutely brutal to go into it like this. And I hit the road. I left town a year ago for 3 months just to heal away from the place
Mhm.
that had caused so much pain. And thank God I had hired a coach, Elena, to help me build a business. So we took, in that time that I was away, we took all of my life experiences and then created a coaching experience called the Holy Shift. And
Mhm.
so taking people through the subtle shifts of life or not so subtle shifts, and then helping them transition their personal and professional life without re-traumatizing them. I
Mhm.
am not into an abrupt style of coaching. I don't want to push people off cliffs or you
Mhm.
know I'm not, it's not shock coaching or therapy. How can we make these changes that are ever so subtle but very impactful and that they'll stick with you for the long haul? And so
Mhm.
I designed that program by taking my life experience, the 8 years of coaching experience, and then my immediate experience, and recognizing what people need in very dramatic oh shit moments. And
Right.
yeah, like I said, like the universe saying, like, you said you wanted this, do you want it? Do you actually want it? And I did. It just took,
Mhm.
it took a different part of me that I had to access at a much deeper level
Yeah.
to root that out and then prove it, not just to myself but to my clients. I mean, I'm going to start telling the stories, and I did recently on LinkedIn and on my blog, of
Mhm.
how clients came to me over time. And during that process, and I thought, me of all people, you want me to coach you?
Mhm.
And they said yes repeatedly. And I was very open about where I was at in life. And they said, yeah, you're the person. I choose you to help me.
Mhm.
And I'm ready for this. And it's been a ride, man. It's pretty
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I hear from you too is that you're real, not a person who's just coming with all of the fireworks and flashy things to show them what they need to do, but you're coming with realistic experiences, your own experiences, and something you recognized at 27 that it was like, okay, I don't have yet those experiences. When you look back in hindsight, and now you've gained different life experiences, some more difficult than others, but also just working with people in different settings and that creative side, setting up the event with your friend as well. So the additional writing that you've done, people see that. I really think that's attractive to people to come to somebody who will be real with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what got me in trouble a lot as an employee, right? So, and it gets me in trouble sometimes as a friend. And what's awesome about coaching is that people are inviting you
Hmm.
to just tell the truth and tell
Yeah.
them exactly what you see. And that's what I'm good at. And
Hmm.
I'm gentle about it, as gentle as I can be.
Yeah.
You can say the most truthful, you can drop the most honest thing like a feather and it will still hurt, right?
Hmm.
If we're not ready to see it or we need to see it. Um, but I get to just be myself. And I think
Yeah.
for anyone, even in the coaching process, I just want them to be themselves. And as a coach, I want to come alongside them and show what their superpowers are, what their blind spots are, what their visions and ideas are. And
Yep.
then how do we need to strategize and organize for that to happen? Because you don't have to just take the leap or jump off the cliff or whatever. It can be an easy entry onto entrepreneurship so that
Yeah.
when you're ready for it, you have positioned yourself for that change. And other changes in life. It's not just into business. Sometimes I'm coaching people out of the business they've
Mm.
created. So
Okay.
it's transitions. I specialize in helping people transition. It's the holy
Okay.
shift. And
Yeah.
I have a spiritual background, so it kind of connects.
Absolutely. Definitely. So there's that connection back to your early pursuit of the ministry, like that sounds like. So it's just a different form of ministry that you're working in now with people as they make transitions in life.
It's not someone else's agenda, it's their agenda. So
Uh-huh.
I'm pointing them back to their truths, their power, their higher power. Like, I'm totally focused on the client and
Yeah.
what their agenda is. And to me, I wish I would have had a Shea when I was 20, to come alongside me and help me. But we got to pay our dues.
Yeah.
We got to get the chops. So
That is true. That definitely there are experiences in life that we benefit from, even if we don't like them when we're going through them. That's a fact, but you were
you know,
able to.
you got to learn from failure.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so painful.
absolutely.
Everyone tells you this, and you're like, no, no.
Right.
But that's in the suffering and in the pain is where you get the gold, right?
So
It's the refining process. So
absolutely. So let's talk just briefly about who are your common clients, the people that you work with the most or that you see benefit from working with you the most.
So a lot of, obviously, entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
business owners, retirees, high level thinkers or achievers. I call them big hearted achievers,
Hmm.
because it's those who are emerging leaders in a company, and they're just saying, hey, I've got a lot going on. I have no idea how to organize this, transition, and then execute on it. I have no idea. And so I get with them and we break down I get right to the core of who they are. We revisit a lot of
Hmm.
things, including values and what's your mission, purpose. Have you thought about that? Do you have a vision? What does it look like? So just coming alongside people and being their thinking partner. I'm their thinking partner.
Yep.
And as a creative, a lot of times I offer ideas or insights or um, things that have worked for other people. So yeah, it's high level achievers. It's people with very big hearts, and they want to make their life count. They want to make it mean something to them based on who they are now, not everybody else's expectations. I have a Mary Oliver quote on my website that
Mhm.
basically says, letting go of what other people had for you and deciding what you want for yourself, and then creating it and putting boundaries around that so that it happens.
Yep. Now, I see some coaches have like a 10-week program, 8-week program. And sometimes I think, is that really going to work in 8 weeks or 12 weeks or 6 weeks? I mean, is the work that you do, is it time-based or is it more of individually focused or how does that work?
Yes, you can hire me for one session if you got
Uh,
one big decision. So that session can go from an hour to 3 hours, and we'll get that
Yeah,
out. We'll get that decision made. Okay.
right.
Second way to work with me is 3 months. I call it the half
Mhm.
shift. So
Mhm.
you just went through something and you need to decide on one thing that's going to take a little bit longer, probably a 3 month situation. And then the 6 months is the holy shift. I
Mhm.
don't call it a program because it's an experience. I don't look at people as a product. I'm not putting you through this process and then boom, we have this beautiful product and oh look, you're perfect now. No, like it's looking at who you are, it's your state of being, it's your mindset, and we build those foundational tools so even when Shay's not there, you can go back to everything we learned in coaching and learn how to make the decisions and know how to make the decisions that you need to make based on our revelations. But it's totally client led. So the client, when we get in our discovery session, either way, we have a discovery part of our time together. We figure out what your goals are, what it is you're trying to achieve, and then how are we going to get you there. And I customize it for every single person. I have my toolbox, I have my standard things I use with everybody,
Yep.
but people are art to me. And so it's looking at the art piece and saying, what do we want this to become in the next 6 months? So,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, I remember that when we talked initially. That was exactly one of those things I wanted to key in on is that you have your toolbox, you have your paintbrushes, you have your materials in a sense.
Yeah.
You have that person that will come and it's individualized to them that they're in the sense of the creative side and the art that you're doing and the work that you do.
Oh yeah, and that's why it's so great for entrepreneurs, because they're artists, they're creatives. They have these ideas that are just they have so many wonderful ideas. So it's like, how do we focus them, get you on the right, get some traction here, and get where you want to go. But
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, people, their businesses grow. I want people to make money. I want people to be successful. But I come alongside them as that partner in that.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, let me ask you a question. I love to ask all of the guests that I have on the show. If you were to be given $1 million today to invest in your business or another endeavor, what would you do with that and why?
Okay, $1 million. That's an excellent question. And it's so hard to even fathom that. But I would definitely buy myself time, because entrepreneurs are like, I want more time to build this thing I want to build. I have a few other ideas that I need to build. So I'd buy myself time. I would set up a more robust team. And then I would also set aside an investment for pro bono work. So I would set up an investment that would allow me to give work to people, give my work to people who, much like me when I was in my 20s and 30s, didn't have the funds to pay for a coach, but I would execute on everything that we discovered. So I was all in, even though I didn't have the money, and I would for sure want to do a pro bono fund for that. I don't even know how that works legally, but again, I have a team. I would have a team that would help me with that.
Help you with that. Yes. Yes. Yes, I like that additional add-on to the, because there are so many people that would benefit from support from a coach, from someone with experience, but they look at that and they say, can't afford it, won't be able to do it, can't access it. And there's so much of that creativity, that artistic side. And sometimes people don't think of the entrepreneur as an artist and the creativity that's involved there, but there's so much of that contained that if they could just have somebody come alongside that would let it out.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what I did in finance. I mean, my boss was a very, very creative entrepreneur, and we made a great team because he liked to co-create these crazy ideas that worked and brought in business, and very unusual for a financial advisor, but that's what made him unique. So there's not a, and when people are looking for a coach, I tell them, like, look around. You want it to be a good fit. You want it to be a match. My house has airplanes. So, you want someone who can go with the flow and work with you. And that's how I'm wired. And not everybody likes that, right? Some people need a definite, more structured left brain coach. And that's fine. That's their style. So ask around, get to know people, find out what fits for you and your goals. You can get to the heart of it. And I also offer a workshop for organizations called Go First, and it's how to be the most interested person in the room. So I teach employees and teams how to ask curious questions, how to practice active listening, how do you connect and build your team culture, but then how does that translate to client and customer experience? So that's another way you can work with me, as I come in and I lead these workshops and teach your team how to communicate and connect. And then we solve one problem within the organization or in your client experience that gives them some practical walk away tools they can implement that week. So
that's great. That's definitely something people need more support with. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone wants to find out more information about you, about your program, your street cred, what's the best way for them to get that information?
Well, first of all, I'm all over the socials. So it's sheapetaja.com is my website. SheaPetaja. As I say, that's a lot of E's and A's. You can go to Facebook. I'm there on Instagram and LinkedIn. It's just my personal page on LinkedIn. And you can follow me there. And I blog on my website. I'm telling stories. I'm getting my own podcast going again. So that's coming out soon. And reach out to me. Anytime people want to reach out to me, all you have to do is schedule a discovery session.
Awesome. I love that, Shane. I really appreciate this conversation and just getting real in the moment that we have together. And so look forward to hearing more about what you have next in store. So
Yeah, I hope we touch base in 6 months so that I can give you an update on all the new things.
absolutely, absolutely. And if I recall, just leaving the audience with one last thing, if I recall correctly, you also do a little bit of stand-up comedy. Is that
I do.
accurate?
Yeah.
So, perhaps that's something else that people will be able to experience in the future a little more as well.
Oh yeah, I'll be at the Comedy Fest this coming winter in Traverse City, Michigan, and stand up and improv are my new side hustle since this is not
Awesome.
my full-time gig. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that sounds wonderful. All right. Well, thank you again, Shay. I loved this conversation. Very happy for what you're doing now and just that fulfilling that creative side as well.
Well, thanks for having me on, and I appreciate you working with all the elements
Of course. All
of
right.
this recording.
No problem at all. Take
100
care.
times better than my Pomeranian barking. So,
Yes, that's absolutely right.
all right.
Take care.
Thank you.